All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Reno City Planning Commission Wednesday, April 5th meeting. We will kick it off with item number 1, Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Villanueva, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Heather, we'll do item number 2, roll call, please.
J.D. Draculich.
Here.
Harris Armstrong.
Here.
Peter Gower.
Here.
Mark Johnson.
Here.
Arthur Munoz.
Here.
Sylvia Villanueva.
Here.
Alex Felto is absent at this time. And we do have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. Closing item number 2, moving to item number 3, public comment. This item is for either public comment on any action item or for any general public comment. Do we have any requests to speak form or any voicemails? Oh.
It should be noted for those in the audience that comments are to be addressed to the Planning Commission as a whole. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Planning Commission agenda. Please note that the Planning Commission may not take action upon any matter not agendized for possible action on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and you will be afforded 3 minutes. If you're an attendee in the Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment at this time, please raise your hand. Lastly, while in this room, please be respectful. Warnings will be issued by the presiding officer if there is disruptive behavior, and you will be asked to leave chambers if the behavior continues. I do not have any requests to speak forms. We did receive correspondence that was general in nature and not related to anything on tonight's agenda. And we also have a voicemail to play that was general in nature. You want to hear it right now?
Please, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Williams, and my comment is on some past planning decisions, and I'm just requesting that you don't put these ugly warehouses along the freeway, please. You're blocking the gorgeous views of our town, and it's just aesthetically ugly. So please put your warehouses on the edges of town, somewhere else except for along the corridor of 395. Thank you.
That's it for voicemails.
Thank you. Anybody in chambers wish to speak in general public comment? Seeing none, we will close item number 3, public comment. Moving on to item number 4, approval of minutes. Item 4.1, Planning Commission regular meeting of March 1st.
Commissioner, I'd just like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion.
Commissioner Villanueva, I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Gower.
I'm not opposed, but I have to abstain.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Item number 4.2, Planning Commission regular meeting of March 15th.
Commissioner Villanueva, I have to abstain. I was not present. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Munoz, I have to abstain as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, move to approve the minutes from Wednesday, March 15th.
Okay, we have a motion.
Commissioner Gallo, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Seeing none opposed, motion passes. Closing item number 4, moving on to item number 5, public hearings. Any person who has chosen to provide his or her public comment when a public hearing is heard will need to so indicate on the request to speak form provided to the secretary. Alternatively, you may provide your comment when item number 3, public comment, is heard at the beginning of this meeting. Heather, any notes? Think we're good?
I'm sorry, what?
No, you're good. Thought I had to address you. All right, item number 5, staff report for possible action, recommendation of City Council, case number LDC 23-00048, Shepherd of the Mountains. I'm assuming we'll have a presentation from the applicant? Okay. Welcome, sir.
My name is Al Singhal. I'm a property trustee And I've listed some of the past projects that we've had: a church, a school, a preschool, and they were done in a special use, and today it would be a conditional use, I think. And I've listed a driver education program, which was precipitated us to go on this path to get rezoning. We had a request last November at the end of the month requesting a space to accommodate 20 students over the last week of December. However, once they found out that we were zoned single family, they said they could not do business with us. So that's kind of what we're looking for here. Under PF, it's adult education is a permissible use. So going on to the next slide. This is an aerial view. Jeff has a number of documents that show various views of this, but I wanted to point out that in the orange outline is our property, and to the south of us are single-family zoning, SF5. To the west, it's SF3, and to the north, it's MF zoning, and on the east of us, it's professional offices. So we're kind of in the same area as far as multi-uses. So, and moving on. This is my panoramic view of the campus. It has a church on the left, the school. There's a playground with a couple of structures you can see. And on the right, there's a large lawn area. So, and this kind of shows it in plan view with the setback requirements under PF would be 10 feet in front and 10 feet in the back. But since we're on the corner, there's no backyard. Side yards are 5 and 5. And under SF, it's kind of a similar deal, except we were 30 feet off the front. So, and the height is pretty much the same, except the PF allows another story or half a story. So, and moving on, that's it. That's all I have. Any questions? Comments?
We'll come back to you in just a moment, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Well,
Appreciate
thank
you. Thank you. All right, well, now we'll take a presentation from the city.
Jeff Foster, Associate Planner for the record. So tonight we have LDC 2348, the Shepherd of the Mountain Zone change. Let's see here. Did we skip a slide? Yeah. Okay. So the site is approximately a little over 2 acres. It is 2 parcels. You can see it's on the corner of Lakeside and Peckham, relatively near the Moana Springs, Moana Park area up in the upper right-hand corner. It does constitute a church and a former preschool school building. Those are the only buildings on the site, as the applicant just indicated. The request that is before you tonight is a zoning map amendment from SF3 to public facilities to bring it into conformance with the master plan. SF3 is not in conformance with the master plan designation that we'll see on the next slide. No additional uses or buildings are proposed. The applicant just talked about a driver education program. That's something that we'll need to vet further as to an additional use, but it is an allowed use by right, though it may require a site plan review for non-residential development adjacent to residential. So the key issues are zoning compatibility and conformance with the zoning code. Just to get the lay of the land, We have a church to the west across Lakeside, single-family homes to the south across Peckham, professional offices to the east, and then above it are townhome developments, one existing, and then the 18 on Lakeside townhome development that was approved last year. I think it was last year. So here's the zoning, the current SF3, and then the proposed PF. SF3, as I mentioned earlier, does not conform with the master plan. And the PF zone, of course, would. Here's your master plan, suburban mixed use, and a handful of policies that, that the project or the proposal lines up with. So here we have a chart, and you probably are familiar with this from the recent First Congregational Church zone change that was before you fairly recently. These are all uses that are allowed in public facilities in the proposed zone. The ones that are here in green are allowed by right, but would require, as non-residential development, would require a site plan review, which, as you know, is a 30-day administrative staff level review, and potential conditions of approval that could be placed on a project. So the ones down here are also allowed by right. However, sorry, not by right. They're allowed, but would require a conditional use permit to come before your body if that was something that they were to eventually propose. The development standards comparing SF3 with public facilities, as the applicant just went through. Again, the key thing to remember here is that any non-residential development or use would be required to go through a site plan review process in which conditions could be placed on it. Here are the recommended findings and the recommended motion. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. We'll now go to the commissioners for disclosure. Commissioner Gower, please.
Thank you. I visited the site and received and read at least one email.
Commissioner Munoz, same disclosures.
Commissioner Armstrong, I read and received at least one email.
Commissioner Villanueva, I am familiar with this site.
Commissioner Johnson visited the site and received and read email.
Commissioner Draculich, same disclosures. All right, we will now open it up for public comment. Heather, do we have any request to speak forms or anybody online?
We do not have any requests to speak forms. It doesn't look like there's anyone in the Zoom meeting that wants to speak. And we don't have any voicemails or correspondence for this item.
Okay. Anybody in the chambers wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, we will close public comment and kick it to the commissioners for questions of staff or the applicant.
I have just one question.
Please
just
do.
More clarity for educational purposes for me, for the staff. So you mentioned that the master plan, so this is not in conformance with the master plan, and that this would, this amendment would put this site in conformance with the master plan. So can you explain as to why it's not currently in conformance with the master plan?
So Jeff Foster, Associate Planner for the record. Suburban mixed use is the master plan designation, and single family 3 is the zone. And single family residential SF3 and other single family zoning districts are not conforming zoning districts under that master plan designation. So SF3 is just not a conforming zoning district.
Okay,
but PF would be.
Okay. Can you give me an example? I'm on the master plan, but I'm not getting to it quick enough. Can you give me an example of what else would be as well, which would be in conformity?
With suburban mixed use, MS, mixed use suburban would be. I mean, there's several of them.
Okay, I didn't get to it. Okay, and so mixed use does not allow for the educational course that he's seeking to have, the driver's ed course that he wants on the church to be able to offer to the community.
Mixed use.
You said that the mixed use was in conformance with the master plan in addition to public facilities. Did I misunderstand you?
Perhaps. Let me explain again.
Sure.
So the master plan is suburban mixed use.
Okay,
Public facilities is the proposed zone.
I understand that. Yep.
That would be in conformance with that master plan designation. The driver education, which would fall under adult education, is an allowed use under public facilities, under the proposed
Correct.
zone.
Yep, I got that. But I asked earlier, what are other zones that are conformance with the master plan in addition to public facilities?
Right. So MS, mixed use suburban, was the one
Mixed
that I mentioned
Okay.
directly.
Mixed use. Okay, and what
Yeah.
was the other? You just didn't know.
There's several others. I don't.
Okay,
I just
but
don't
none of
remember.
those allow for the driver's ed classes?
They probably do. They probably
Okay.
do. In the staff report, there's an entire chart in one of the appendices that lists all of the allowed uses.
Okay.
Or all of the uses it's the entire table of allowed uses in the zoning code.
Okay, but you guys, or you and the applicant believe that this is the best amendment?
I see what you're saying. So public facilities is what we believe is the most appropriate zone under the master plan designation for a variety of reasons. So I'm glad you asked, Commissioner Villanueva. One of the reasons is because there are numerous churches around the city that are zoned PF. So there's a lot of precedent for that. In fact, if you wanted to see, I do have an exhibit showing at least 7 churches that are zoned PF around the city. And there are probably more. This is just a portion of the city. Another reason is because the PF zone is a less intense zone than some of the others. For example, mixed use suburban MS that I mentioned earlier would allow more uses, a higher intensity of development in terms of height, building height, number of units, things like that. So the PF zone is one of the more restrictive zones that is compatible with or is conforming with the master plan designation.
And would allow for the driver's ed course?
Correct.
Okay.
Would allow for the church, the religious assembly use by right, and the driver's education, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from commissioners or a motion?
Commissioner Munoz, I can make a motion.
Thank you.
The case number LDC 23-00048, Shepherd of the Mountains. Based on compliance with the applicable findings, I move to recommend the City Council approve the zoning map amendment by ordinance, and I can make all the findings.
We have a motion.
Commissioner Armstrong, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. Good luck. All right. That closes item number 5, public hearings. Moving on to item number 6, Planning Commission Training Series. We did have a discussion about potentially having this potentially moved to a later date. We weren't quite sure, Commissioner Gower, Commissioner Munoz, if you were here yet. And so you are here. So I don't know if we want to discuss having this still played or move it to a later date. I think we have to discuss it. Yeah. Go ahead. Opening the discussion for it.
What are you proposing, Chair?
Yeah, if we wanted to move this to a later date. If not, happy to move on with it.
Are you suggesting we move it to a later date because we may have new commissioners?
Yeah, potentially we might have new commissioners in the future that might take advantage of this training. It could be useful for them, but we also understand that these trainings may be available to them later on as well. So once again, we weren't sure if you guys were going to be here and it would be useful or not, but since you're here, but up to you guys if we want to push it off for a future date.
So Jason Garcia Lebu, Planning Manager for the record. Staff has the video link to this, so we can accommodate the request by doing both. We can email that out to commissioners so that you can view the video and also postpone this to a future date if that's the wish of the commission.
Commissioner Villanueva, Chair, or actually, I think Jason, you may have the answer to this. I know we have 2 commissioners, unfortunately, departing us soon, which I'm sad about that. But when do you anticipate that we'll have the 2 new commissioners on board?
So that would be after June 30th. So probably the soonest would be in July.
Okay, so sometime after July. I mean, I think that's a good idea to have the new commissioners hear this presentation. There's a lot to learn when you join this commission, and I think it'd be really helpful for them.
Commissioner Armstrong?
Just a clarifying question, Jason. I think you said we could move to not do the training here in person, and you could just circulate the training via email. Is that an option? Did I hear that right?
That is correct. We can email the link to the commissioners. So,
Okay, great. So I think it's kind of a win-win because those of us that want to see it now could watch it now, and it'll be available for future commissioners. So I would support that if anyone else is open to it.
Commissioner
That works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner Armstrong, looks like a motion. Go ahead.
I move to push the training. I guess it would just be at our discretion via email. Is that the correct motion, Jason?
yeah, it postponed the training to a future date, and then staff will follow up with an email.
Okay, great.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Munoz, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. All in favor? Aye. All right. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. Closing item number 6. Moving to item number 7, Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Liaison Report.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Johnson, so the March meeting was postponed till actually last Monday, April 3rd. 3 items on the agenda, 2 from the city of Sparks. And then the third item was actually a discussion about the scope for projects of regional significance. We see those occasionally coming through here based on traffic counts, housing counts, added school population, all of those. Has been some discussion at the Regional Planning Governing Board looking at the fact that there's been some question about oversight on private and charter schools. The school district provides information on all of their schools so that they can be reviewed for traffic impacts and items of that sort. But larger, actually any non-Washoe County School District schools, they just have the local jurisdictions. And some of you may be familiar with some of the larger ones that are located in close proximity to other schools, creating some traffic issues. So the PRS discussion was recommending that any private or charter school with a anticipated or an allowed occupant or student count of 500 or more would have to go through a project of regional significance at regional level. Wouldn't change what they would be doing, whether there are any conditional use permits at the city of Reno or anything like that. But if that was proposed, they would have to go through so that it could be looked at for traffic issues. So I think the biggest one is the question down at south between Galena High School and the Doral Academy, where basically Mount Rose Highway comes to a standstill at 3:30 in the afternoon. So that was the main point of discussion. There'll be some additional discussion about that, but I think that's about the only change as far as that goes. And that was the longest regional planning report I think I've ever given. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll close item number 7, move to item number 8, staff announcements. Jason, please.
Hello again, Commissioners. Jason Garcia-LeBou, Planning Manager for the record. Just a quick update for the April 19th Planning Commission meeting. We have 3 items on the agenda. One of those will be a master plan item. So we will need at least 5 commissioners for that item. And then we're also looking to have the Fire Creek Crossing Resort Casino project, as well as a major deviation project for a residence. So that's on the next agenda. And then staff will also be bringing staff specific bylaws updates, proposal to this commission. It has to do mostly with COVID technology updates and Zoom links and things like that. So I'll walk through that at the next meeting. I think that was most of it. I almost forgot, we will have a 5:30 start time because there will be the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee on April 19th. So please be aware of that. We'll hold that first and then jump into our Planning Commission agenda at 6. So that's most of the staff updates. I'm available for any questions, and I haven't forgotten the previous requests. I'm working on those. So hopefully I'll have some emails out to the commission for stuff that was mentioned at the prior meetings. So thank you.
Thank you as well. Closing item number 8, moving on to item number 9, commissioners' suggestions for future agenda items. Okay. Closing item number 9, moving on to item number 10, public comment. Heather, are there any requests to speak forms or anybody online?
No request to speak forms. No one is in the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Thank you. Anybody in the chambers wish to speak on item number 10, public comment? Seeing none, we will close item number 10, public comment, and move to item number 11, adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Good night, everybody. Thank you.